On today's episode, we are going to take a look at one of my favorite companies right now. This is actually a tier 1 stock for me, and they just reported earnings. And for those that don't know and can't see the picture up here, obviously I'm talking about NVIDIA. They reported earnings today, and the stock price is pretty quiet after earnings. So today's episode is going to be no different than most of my other episodes. We're going to start off by taking a quick look at an overview of their earnings and the company. Then we're going to take a look at some financial numbers. And at the end, we're going to talk about my overall thoughts on the business. Like always, my name's Jose Najarro. By day, I'm a senior electrical engineer, and I do believe maybe that's why I'm so excited about NVIDIA and a lot of semiconductor companies, just because of my professional background and my educational background. Semiconductors, clouding companies are usually some of my favorite. Like I mentioned, right, by day, I'm an electrical engineer. By night, I'm a self-taught investor looking for new positions to add onto my portfolio for long-term gains. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel out so much and I truly appreciate it. Remember, nothing here should be taken as advice as I am not a professional. And before we go any further, go down to the comments below and let me know, what are your thoughts on NVIDIA right now? Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you holding? Or are you waiting for a pullback before entering? While you're down there, you should also see a link to my Discord channel. It's free to anybody that wants to join. This video should be out on Thursday, and usually Thursday and Fridays are the days I do my weekly purchases of stock. So if you guys want to see what I buy, feel free to join the Discord channel. Like I said, it's free for anybody that wants to join, and I post every time I buy and sell. While you're down there, you should also see a link to Webull. If you sign up and follow that link, we both could get a free stock. I think right now they're doing a special where we get 2 free stocks, and that's just great returns, right, for doing almost nothing. All right, so right now we're going to talk about NVIDIA, ticker NVDA. To all my podcast listeners, after hours, it is down about 2%. So earnings seem to meet expectations because the stock price hasn't moved too much, right? Sitting after hours is about $526.50. Year-to-date returns with those stock price are around 120%. So congratulations to all the long-term holders of NVIDIA. Obviously, one of my favorite companies right now, a tier 1 stock in my portfolio, and I have 9 tier 1 stocks in my portfolio right now. Compared to the all-time highs, it is down 10%, and the market cap right now with the current price after hours is roughly $325 billion. So for those that don't know, right, NVIDIA creates graphics cards, GPUs, that pretty much, the best way to say is they run the world. So these graphics cards are used for multiple aspects in our everyday life, from gaming to data center, high power computing, and artificial intelligence computing, as well to professional visualization and auto, where they have form of autonomous vehicle system going on as well. So these are the 4 markets they're hitting. 2 of these markets I'm completely bullish on, and that's the gaming and data center. And we're going to take a look at those are the biggest markets that NVIDIA is hitting right now. So let's take a look at their earnings. So earnings for the third quarter of fiscal year of 2021. And this sometimes confuses a lot of people because when we look at numbers, we're looking at numbers that say 2021. So sometimes people believe this might be an expectation for the upcoming years, but no, their fiscal year is almost a year ahead of the actual calendar year. So I just wanted to mention, because I think in my last video, someone might have mentioned that. Quarter 3 non-GAAP earnings per share were $2.91. It did beat expectations by 36 cents, and GAAP earnings per share were $2.12, which beat expectation by 43 cents. So first thing we're going to see is this company is profitable in both non-GAAP earnings per share and GAAP earnings per share. And a lot of people, like always, they're probably going to be shocked that I'm talking about a company that's making money in both non-GAAP earnings and in GAAP earnings. Revenue right now is $4.73 billion for this quarter, and that's up 57% compared to the same time last year. This is insane, right? 57% year-to-year growth is something that not many companies can do, especially a company with this type of revenue. This is a giant right now. What do we say? $325 billion of market cap, and pulling this type of revenue growth. This is pretty impressive. Adjusted gross margins were 62.6% versus the overall consensus of 65.3% and the company's guidance of 65.5%. So I do believe maybe this might be a bit reason for the stock price to be down right now. Their gross margins did not meet the expectations and it did not meet the guidance that NVIDIA gave. Next, they also gave guidance for the fourth quarter of, which is this upcoming quarter right now. They expect revenue to be $4.8 billion plus or minus 2%. And the overall consensus given by Wall Street was about $4.43 billion. So this is a lot higher than the overall consensus that Wall Street was expecting. To be honest, I'm surprised the stock price hasn't flown a bit because of this guidance right here. NVIDIA, during the call, they did mention something pretty important in their earnings call, that they expect data center revenue to kind of decline in the quarter compared to this quarter. And it's pretty much driven by a Chinese customer not purchasing Mellanox networking products. So for those that are not familiar, recently, I think 2 quarters ago, I think it might have been quarter 1 of 2021, that NVIDIA acquired a company called Mellanox to overall increase its artificial intelligence market in the clouding market world. So right now, one of those customers is saying from Mellanox is not going to be purchasing some product. I'm not 100% sure what was the reason for this loss of customer, or if it's just a loss of time right now, especially with COVID situation, right? Sometimes management and money flows up a bit slower. So maybe next quarter after this, we might be seeing it. But they're saying that, hey, be careful of data center revenue. It is going to be a decline. Now I can see why the stock price is down a bit, right? We're having some great news, but we're also coming in with some bad news. Next, this one's going to be a pretty simple. There were a lot of recent news that came out for NVIDIA this quarter. I kind of just pulled out the ones I enjoyed the most in the data center. There were so many upcoming highlights from the data center. So if you guys want to look at them all, I would say I definitely recommend going to their investors website and reading them all. The ones that really grabbed my attention are the following. The first one is they shared news that the Amazon, AWS, and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure announced general availability of cloud computing instances based on NVIDIA's A100 GPU. The A100 GPU is their clouding server graphics units, and this is following Google Cloud Platform and Microsoft Azure, which are already using these GPUs. So that's impressive. Right now, it seems like almost all the clouding server providers are using NVIDIA's GPU, which is pretty impressive. The second thing they mentioned is just like I mentioned, a lot of implementation to products by strong customers, and they also announced a lot of roadmaps of future products being used here in the data center realm. Also, they talk a bit about the ARM acquisition. I've done a few videos on that if you guys want to check out my previous catalog. In the gaming, the biggest thing that came out for them is this quarter they released the GeForce RTX 3000 series GPUs, which are doing amazing right now. They're sold out everywhere. The only reason I know this is because I'm trying to pick one up, but nothing is available from the 3070 to the 3090. Either or, I would gladly take. Then they also, a few things in the automotive world. They announced that with Mercedes-Benz that they are doing a partnership, that they are going to power the next S-Class, I forget what was the next S-Class sedans with the NBUX AI cockpit system. They announced with Hyundai Motor, the entire lineup of Hyundai, Kia, Genesis models will come standard with NVIDIA Drive. And they also announced that China's Li Auto will develop its next generation of electric vehicles using NVIDIA's Drive AGX, which is a software-defined platform for autonomous vehicles. So this is pretty cool. I mean, I feel like Li Auto is an EV company that many people might not be talking about right now. Everybody's probably too focused in NIO right now that this might be one flying under the radar. And if they're making partnerships with NVIDIA, that kind of gives some form of, I want to say some form of stain. That's probably the easiest way I can talk. I can play, but it puts a spotlight on Li Auto that, hey, they're working with a big company. So it might be something other investors should take a look at. All right, so next, let's take a look at some financial numbers. But before we do that, guys, you should see a link down there below to one of my favorite services right now, and that's 7 Investing, where every month they recommend 7 stocks for only $17 a month. If you use my link or my promo code Jose, you get $10 off the first month. May I say, yes, this is an affiliate program, but I use their services and would recommend it to anyone. So now let's take a look at the future growth. First, NVIDIA is expected to grow its revenue 14.7% annually for the next 3 to 5 years. I consider a growth stock anything over 15%. So being right there on the borderline, NVIDIA is still a strong grower. We can see that revenue increasing over the years, and these are just analyst expectations. What I do also see is NVIDIA has been profitable for the past 2-3 years. It has had positive free cash flow from operations, and it has had positive cash flow from operations, which is good. Even though I'm going to take a look at their balance sheet, seeing that they are profitable and that they have positive cash flow, it helps me not be as strict on their balance sheet. Regardless, I still like to see a very strong balance sheet. Next, I also wanted to take a quick look at the revenue breakdown of this quick earnings, just to see how that revenue was broken down. So total revenue, like I mentioned, this quarter was $4.7 billion, and that was up 57% compared to the same time last year. A huge portion of that actually came from gaming. Gaming was $2.27 billion, up 37% compared to the same time last year. And the overall consensus was actually $2.06 billion. So this beat expectation. Data center is the second biggest, coming at $1.9 billion. This is up 162% compared to the same time last year. The overall consensus was $1.8 billion, so it beat as well. So these are great news. The other two sectors that they hit are the professional visualization. That's down about 27% compared to the same time last year. But this is such a small portion of the revenue that it doesn't really drive much revenue right now. Then the auto industry, the auto right now is down 23% compared to the same time last year. This is their smallest section. So again, it doesn't really affect the revenue much, but it's good to see how the current trends are going right now. Next, let's take a quick look at their balance sheet. And here, in all honesty, all I'm care about is two things: their cash and cash equivalents right now, and the type of debt they're doing. They obviously just purchased Mellanox. I want to see how their liabilities are doing right now and how much cash do they have at hand. So if we take a look at cash, they have about $10.1 billion of cash. And then if we take a look at short-term debt is about $1 billion. And long-term debt is about $6 billion. So they have a total of $7 billion of debt. So this tells me this company has plenty of cash at hand to pretty much pay off all its total current debt right now. It is profitable and it does have positive cash flow from operations. So this is a very, very strong balance sheet. Next, let's take a look and end this episode with my thoughts. But before we do that, guys, don't forget to check out my second channel, Jose Najarro Entrepreneur. I've been doing this for the past 6-7 years, and throughout this process, I've learned a lot about how to grow myself and how to become more successful. So I decided to create this second channel to kind of discuss everything I've learned throughout the process. So make sure to check it out. Like I said, Jose Najarro Entrepreneur. I post new videos every Friday, Sundays, and Wednesdays. Today was the 3 biggest books that have changed my life completely. So make sure to check out the channel. And if you guys want to continue to support the channel, check out the cool merch, Self-Taught Investor. I thought it was the perfect merch for me since I am a self-taught investor and been doing this for the past 6-7 years. All right, so now let's go back to my thoughts. First thing I want to do is take a quick look at technical analysis. Like I mentioned, I'm a long-term investor, so I don't put too much heavy weight on technicals, but it is something I like looking at. The first thing I want to see, is it overextended from its moving averages? I can see right now NVIDIA is actually sitting with its averages at the moment, and it tends to trend with them pretty carefully. So that's a big plus. The second thing I'm trying to look at is where we have a lot of volume in this stock. And right now we have a lot of volume. We can see with this technical that I use between, I'm going to give you guys a big range, is between $500 and $575. And you might be like, Jose, that's a huge range. Like I said, I am not a trader. So it's not like I'm looking for the perfect price point right now. I use this to see where in general are we seeing some form of support with the stock price, and usually it is where there's a bunch of volume. So things are looking good in both regards. So what do I like about NVIDIA? The first thing, overall market is in, right? It's hitting amazing markets, mainly the gaming and the clouding market, which are the two biggest markets. It's continuing to innovate its products. We see every quarter, we're always hearing about a new product that they're working on for, again, those markets, the clouding market and the gaming market. But we also hear new products being used for the clouding and for the visual professional. Even though I'm not too excited about those markets, they're still growing there, which is good. The overall very aggressive acquisitions that they're doing. They just purchased Mellanox, and right now they are going through the acquisition of ARM, which I believe is going to be such a huge deal for NVIDIA if it does go through. It has been approved by both boards, but now it just has to go through the normal legal approval process. We also have strong revenue growth all around. We saw that huge growth, 57% compared to the same time last year. Huge growth in gaming and huge growth in clouding market. I like their balance sheet. We saw plenty of cash to pretty much pay off all their total debt. And then that guidance they gave us was also pretty impressive in the form of total revenue. I'm also liking that the stock price is not overextended and that it's sitting at around prices where the volume is pretty heavy right now. There are a bit things that I don't like about NVIDIA. And the first thing is, I honestly, it is a tier 1 stock. So there's not much I don't like. But obviously, the decrease in data center revenue this upcoming quarter in the guidance is something to worry about. That's the first thing. We have to do a little more research and understand why that customer did not purchase those Mellanox products. The second thing I might want to say that I don't like, let me think. I probably would say the second thing would be that because of the new acquisition with ARM, it's going to be a $10 billion in cash, and then the rest I think is going to be through stock shares. It's going to, one, kind of deplete that cash flow, so they're going to have to increase that debt. So that's something we're going to see. And the second thing is it's going to make some form of dilution. Even though I do believe the overall acquisition is such a smart deal, I do believe it is going to affect the balance sheet, but at the same time, it's going to affect earnings as well. So it's a win. It depends on which way you look at it. If you look at it in just a pure balance sheet form of way, it's obviously going to look negative. If you look at it as a total picture, it kind of evens itself out, and I still believe it's a great acquisition for NVIDIA. So there's not much I don't like at the moment. So that's it for today's episode. I'm not sure yet. Like I mentioned, I purchase every Thursday and Friday, so my purchases should be coming out either tomorrow or the day after. And actually, when I release the video, it should be today or tomorrow. I'm not sure with NVIDIA. It actually, I wouldn't mind adding to some position right now, increasing my overall exposure in NVIDIA at current prices, but I'm not going to go in with the super huge position and try to enter. It's just going to be a small position to add on to my overall exposure. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good night, and see you next time.